So in this video we're going to show you how to use this keyword with the constructor, and we call this as the explicit, right, constructor invocation. So the concept is that this keyword can be used to call constructor with argument from the constructor without argument, just like that. So this called this constructor and pass the values to set. Now we're going to look at from the previous videos we see this car example. So we can actually modify this to use the overloaded constructor, right, by passing the color. Make sure I use caps. Okay. Horsepower and engine size and make. So this is how we call the overloaded constructor, using this to reference to it. So let's test the program. The program recompiling this, and when we run this it should work as the same. So I try to compile both, and still working as the same. Okay. So when you use this to invoke an overloaded constructor, or we call explicitly constructor invocation, we have to make sure that this keyword can only be the first statement in constructor. If you make it as the second one, that's going to be a problem. Like if you put system.out, print something first, and then refer this, it's not going to work. Like this, always the first statement. You can't put anything else before. No. Okay. Like anything before around here, no. And you have to choose either this or super. You cannot use both. Okay. Now, super at this point is going to be beyond the topic that we cover in this class. It's going to be the next class. But I can tell you a little bit what it means. Like in 201, what you learn is you create car class. You can actually create another class like Toyota extends car. So this is called inheritance. Then Toyota constructor can call super to refer the constructor of car to initialize the values that what means, or just call this to use the constructor of its own. It has to be either one, so that what means here. So this keyword can also be used inside the method to call another method from same class, like in this example. So we create an object, and an object called method 2. So this is like a main, right? This class has the main. So object 2 try to call the method 1. You can also use this dot method 1. You refer to this class method 1. Which normally you don't have to do this. It's the same thing. You can just omit that. And we can use this as the method parameters. So let's look at, this is the concept that I try to tell you. When you create a class, you can extend the class. Okay, this is a little bit beyond the scope of 200, but you can just keep that in mind since we talk about this, right? So this methods can call method 1 and pass the parameters, right? Now when we call this, so it's taking parameters. So parameter in this case is the class itself as the parameter, because this is JVT1. You pass itself, okay, to that methods, which then you can refer to the I of that, the attributes of that method, of that class, the class instance variables. Okay, so those are the way that we can use this. So again, let's review a little bit how many ways we can use this. 1, we can do like this dot color equals to color inside, right, inside the method, right? 2, we can just call this as the constructor, right, invocation, and just provide like the parameters, something like that, right? 3, again, when you do this, you can, it has to be the first line, right? So 3, we can do like that, refer to, right? But normally we just call the method itself without using the keyword, right? 4, we can pass the class itself as the parameters. So that's how you use this. Okay. So we gotta look at how to create a statics instance variables, right? So again, static instance variables we created when we want to make sure that all the objects going to have the same values. When we change one, it's going to reflect to other objects. Those are statics. But we're not going to have a statics to like color, because when I change one car color, I don't want it to reflect to another car color. So those are non-statics. Now, for good statics variables can be just keyword statics and then count. Count pretty much just keep tracking on how many cars, and this just reflects to all of them. When we change one, it's reflect to the rest, like how many cars has been created. So we're gonna have to create the methods and public statics int get count. So pretty much this is also the statics, and the rest pretty much the same. You just need to return count, and that's it. When you just define statics, it's just going to be sharing among the objects. One object change this value, reflect to the other objects too. So let's implement that too, right? We didn't implement that. Normally we implement inside a constructor for count. Whenever you create a new object, we just did count ++. Just increment that. So then it's not a bad idea just to initialize to 0 in the beginning. Then start to do the increment So it's going to be inside the constructor, which if I use this reference here, I don't really need to put it here anymore, because we'll call this constructor and do increment. Now that should be the case. We're going to modify the driver to test this. So we're going to call like car dot get count, right? So we don't need to instantiate the object. You could use my car dot get count. It's the same as car dot get count, but the proper way to access the statics method is just use its own class name, like that. So like after you created all the cars, we're gonna say at the end how many cars has been created. Number of cars. Car get count. So actually, maybe I just gonna use this instead. Alright, so let's test the program. First recompiling all of them, right? And so there's an errors in car driver car.get count, oh, parentheses, right? Call the method must have parentheses. Alright, so we're going to run car driver. Number of cars 3 and 3. Those 3 cars has been created, but I should not see 3 when I didn't create it. So I'm going to move this. This one has been created, that's why I see 3. So I'm going to move this to before I create it. Right there, right? So that should show 0. Let's recompile it again. There you go. Before you create it, 0. After created, it's 3. So that's how we use it. Alright, so I will come back for the next videos, next class, to talk about how to implement equals to compare if those 2 cars are equals or not, and the rest. Create new driver, the option pane to prompt user to enter the values of each car and create a car. And we already showed the driver class, but we're going to talk about more how to compare them.